Hey everybody and welcome back to the Sketch Academy channel. First of all, I want to say thank you for the positive response to the first video. It got me really excited to see that you are just as excited as I am for this channel, and I can't wait to get back into analog sketching, not just to teach it, but to kind of brush up on my fundamentals as well. Because sketching cars and sketching products, it's fun, but you need to still have a good understanding of the fundamentals when it comes to sketching products or whatever it is you're sketching. So the idea with this channel is I want to keep it. The idea is I want, even if you're completely new to sketching, I want you to be a part of this channel, and that means that we're going to start, or some of the videos might be boring to some of you because I'm covering such basic stuff, but that's just because I want everybody to be able to learn how to sketch even if you haven't sketched a single line before. So we need to cover the fundamentals, because that's what you're going to use to build your sketch ability on. And of course, we're also going to cover more advanced stuff once we've covered the basic fundamentals of sketching. In this video, we're going to talk about something that I really enjoy sketching, and that is, of course, ellipses. Because ellipses, you can use ellipses to sketch pretty much whatever you want. A lot of products are built up by ellipses. Because everything is a curve, and when you combine a bunch of ellipses, you can create pretty much any product that you want based on the curvature that you practice when you're sketching ellipses. So we're gonna start with a very basic exercise for sketching ellipses, and then I'm gonna talk about 3 different points that are important to get your ellipses right. And then we're gonna take 2 ellipses, so we're gonna put 2 ellipses right next to each other, and then we're going to create a center point in the ellipse, and then create some spokes going out. So I'm gonna show you how to create a wheel, essentially. So that's what we're gonna do in this video. I hope you're going to enjoy it. Now let's get into the sketching part. Alright, so let's get started with sketching ellipses, and then we are going to turn those ellipses into wheels, and I'm gonna show you how to create the fundamentals of a wheel by placing the center in the ellipse and then creating the spokes. And the spokes, of course, can be whatever design you want it to be. So first of all, we have a blank sheet of print paper right here, and we have of course, the big pen right here as well. So what we're gonna do first is create 2 lines like this. One line going right here, the other line going parallel with that right there. You can use a ruler to get these straight if you want to do that, but I prefer to sketch freehand because it's more challenging, and once you learn how to sketch freehand, you're not dependent on a bunch of tools. But anyway, it's up to you to use a ruler or do it freehand. Now, what we're going to do here is start by making ellipses that go from narrow all the way down to almost a circle down here. So I'm gonna do this, and you can follow along in the video, and then I'm gonna come back and talk to you how we did these ellipses right here. So let's start with a very narrow one, and then these become larger and larger. So how do we create these ellipses? As you can see here, when I sketch ellipses, I like to first start off by ghost sketching. And what I mean by that is just hover your hand over the spot where you're going to sketch, so you get a feel of where you're going to place the ellipse and how wide it's going to be and all of that. So that's the first thing, ghost sketch. And one really important thing when you're sketching ellipses is to always sketch from your elbow and your shoulder. You do not want to have any movement in your wrist when you're doing this, because if you do that, you are going to get the line or the ellipse itself is not going to be very smooth. So you want to keep your wrist locked and sketch like this, large movements with your elbow and shoulder. And it doesn't really matter if you're sketching a big ellipse like a full size of the width of the paper here, or if you're sketching small. You always want to keep your wrist locked when you do this. So first of all, ghost sketch. That's step number 1. Meaning just hover your hand over where you're going to sketch. Step number 2 is, what did we say? Lock your wrist. And step number 3, this is also a very important one. You want to keep your speed up when you're sketching. When you're sketching anything, pretty much, especially when you're sketching product, because you want to have these smooth, clean lines that just flow beautifully. And if you have to choose between, let's say if you have to choose between speed and what you feel comfortable with sketching, you always want to go with speed, because if you're comfortable sketching slow, you're never going to get these smooth lines. So it's better to keep the speed up and keep the speed up. And it's better to keep the speed up and maybe miss your mark every now and then. That's totally fine, and that is going to happen all the time when you're sketching, when you're starting out to sketch. But the more you get used to the speed, the better your accuracy is going to be at speed. And the bonus of all this, practicing with speed all the time, is that you're going to get these smooth lines. So what we're going to do now is see if we can turn this into some cool wheels. So it obviously depends on what type of angle you want this wheel to be. If it's more of a complete front view of the wheel, then you almost want to have a complete circle. But we're not sketching circles here today, so we're going to have a bit of a 3/4 view of the wheel. So we want to put out, let's just put out, start by ghost sketching here, and put out a wheel like this. Then of course we need to copy this back there, and then we need to connect these two to create the wheel, I guess, or the tire. And from here, it depends. Now we're going to start to talk about how many spokes do you want in the wheel. So let's say we want 6. I think 6 is a good idea to start with, because it's very easy to get the placements of each spoke correctly here. So let's start with 6 spokes. That means that that each spoke is going to have another spoke right in the opposite side of it. So let's start by doing this. We're gonna put out the first 4 spokes right here. The placement of the first spokes. One at the top, bottom, side, and then we want to go in the middle of this distance here, place out make another little mark right there. Same thing here, just mark it out, and then we're gonna do the same on this side as well. So now we have our guidelines here. We have our tiny little dots, and these dots are going to help us when we create the spokes for this car. Now the next step is to place, to mark out the center point of the wheel itself. It depends if you want to have a deep dish wheel. I like those because it looks cooler and it looks a lot better. Or if you want to have a flat wheel. But for example, if you want to have a flat wheel, it's very easy. You just connect these 2 lines, or 2 marks that you have, top, bottom, and the side to side, and that will give you the center point of this wheel. But I want to create a deep dish, so what I'm gonna do is just lower these lines, and we still have this line right here, but now we have a new center point here because we created this angle that it goes inside of the wheel. So I want to have this to be the center point instead. And from here, all we got to do now is decide what type of spokes we want to create, what type of design of the spokes we want. And I'm gonna go with some simplistic designs here, just some basic spokes. We might put something in between these spokes later on, but for now I'm just making, since I know probably it's easier to start with something like this instead of starting with some really complicated designs if you want to start to sketch wheels. So let's keep the design simple for this one. And then we just connect these, the guide points that we have. We just drag them into the center of the wheel. And that's how you create rims for whatever car or machine you're trying to sketch. This to me is the easiest way. And once you get used to this, it's kind of funny. Once you get used to this, it gets easier the faster you sketch. The less you think about it because you've practiced it so much. So once you get comfortable with this, the lines and everything is going to get a lot smoother the faster you go. So right now, I would say this is pretty slow sketching for me. I usually go a lot faster than this, but it wouldn't make sense if you want to learn how to do this that I go 100 miles an hour. So I'm trying to slow down here a little bit and just show you the process behind it. But it doesn't really get as clean as it would if I go fast. And that's one of the reasons why you always want to practice your speed when you're sketching. So there we have a cool looking wheel. Then we can create some line weight here if we want to as well. So this is obviously the bottom. Just adding some thickness to this wheel. I mean, we don't have any tire on this because that would be it would be a very, very thin tire if this was a complete tire. So let's just sketch the wheel here for now. And then since this corner, this edge up here is facing down and it's in the shadows like this down here, I'm gonna add some line weight to that as well. And then I'm gonna go in and add some line weight to the spokes as well, because why not? We can't just leave it halfway. If we're adding line weight to one part of the sketch, then I think we might as well go in and finish the job and add line weights to all the parts that needs it done. And once we've done that, I'm going to show you a really quick way of sketching wheels that will take you 1/3 of the time to sketch this wheel right here. And that's kind of what I like to do. If you watched my videos before, you know that I don't have the patience. I think that's the problem. I don't have the patience to sketch wheels, because to me it feels like I'm doing the same thing over and over again, depending on how many spokes I have. It's like I have to make the same sketch 6 times because there are 6 spokes, if that makes sense. So I usually don't have a lot of patience when it comes to wheels. But actually now, when I slow down and just think about the wheel design, it's actually pretty fun. So I'm adding some graphics to this as well. So I want to have a center line for each spoke. So I'm adding center lines and I'm adding line weight at the same time. And then, you know, it depends. You can go in and do whatever you want here. You can go in and create whatever design you want. It doesn't have to be 6. You can have 10 spokes, or you can have 4, like the old Saab wheels. That looks kind of interesting. Whatever you want to do. It all depends on how many reference points you put out here in the beginning. So that was one way of sketching wheels. And then, of course, it all depends on the width of the ellipse itself, how much of the wheel you're going to see. So right here, for example, we have 2 different angles of the wheel. This looks like it might be, the front wheel might be turning here or something. And then we have the rear wheel just being in a different angle like that. So we see it from a different angle. And that all depends on the width of this ellipse itself. So the wider the width, the more of the wheel you're going to see, obviously. Now let's sketch a wheel really quick and show you what I do when I want to get a wheel done very quickly. I just create an ellipse like this. And then I create the center point. And then what I do is I just start going like this. Just creating the spokes, make it look like it's in motion maybe. And then the further down we go, the lighter I want the lines here, because that means that the light source is coming from the top. So the spokes that are covered by this angle are going to be a little bit more in the shade than the ones that are on the bottom, if that makes sense. Same thing here, we can start to add some line weight to this. And we can add also even some more shading to the top part of these spokes here. Something like that. And this really works better with markers. If you throw some markers on here right now, it's going to blend with the lines and create this natural shade. And it looks really good actually if you have a quick sketch that you just want to throw some wheels on. And of course you can also put out the tire itself. Let's see if we can get this right here. Something like that. So we have some thickness to this, and boom, we have a cool looking tire that looks like it's in motion here. So it doesn't have to be very complicated to sketch wheels. It's all about practice as usual. You just gotta practice this, and once you get a hang of it, it becomes a lot easier. I think the most important part of these 3 points here is to keep your speed up, just to get these clean lines. And of course I'm just adding a little bit more of line weight to the top. I'm gonna add some more here as well. So there we go. I think that's it for this video. I want to do these videos in real time because I think it's more helpful than if I speed it up and talk over it. Doing it in real time, it means that you can actually follow along if you want to, and do it step by step with me in the videos. So they tend to be a little bit longer than you might expect, but at the same time, if you really want to learn how to sketch, I think it's very beneficial for you to kind of slow it down a little bit and not speed up the video too much. So that's it. I hope this was useful to you, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to hit the like button, and if you have any friends or family members that would love to learn how to sketch, you can share the channel with them if you want to do that. It would be really cool to grow this into a online YouTube sketch academy, since that's the name of the channel itself, and have people from all over the world just come in every now and then and just pick up a pen, just relax and sketch a little bit. I think that would be sweet. What I would do if I was starting all over from scratch with sketching and I didn't know anything about ellipse sketching is to fill up a bunch of sheets of paper with ellipses like this, all the way from tiny ones. It doesn't matter if it gets messy, just keep the speed up. Even if it feels uncomfortable keeping the speed up like this, just do it anyway, and don't worry too much about it being perfect or something like that, because after a while you will get used to it and it will make more sense, and you will still, since you kept the speed up through the practice runs, you will have these clean lines. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take it easy.